If you are lying here tonight feeling like the world is chaotic or unpredictable or too much to manage, this is for you. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will understand that the stability you are looking for isn't something you have to create. It is something that is already here, built into the very fabric of reality, holding you up. We are often taught to think of mathematics as a source of stress, as a list of problems to be solved, equations to be balanced, or tests to be passed. We think of it as something that requires our constant, exhausting mental effort. But tonight, I want you to look at it differently. Mathematics is not a test. It is a cradle. It is the invisible scaffolding that keeps the universe predictable, reliable, and safe. Right now, as you lie in the dark, there is a calculation happening underneath you. You aren't doing it. You don't have to check the work, but it is happening. The structural integrity of your floor is obeying a precise mathematical formula. The gravity holding you to your mattress is following a constant, unwavering law. The air you are breathing is flowing according to the specific dynamics of fluid mechanics. These numbers are not asking anything of you. They are simply holding you. You don't need to calculate the physics of your bed to know it will support your weight. The math is doing the work so you don't have to. The universe is running the numbers, balancing the forces, and maintaining the equilibrium that allows you to simply exist. Tonight, we are going to look at these hidden equations, not to solve them, but to rest in them, to recognize that you are held by a reality that is mathematically designed to be stable. You are safe. The numbers prove it, and you can rest. The geometry of stability. Look around the space you are in right now, even in the dim light, even with your eyes closed. You know the shape of this room. You know where the walls are. You know where the door stands. You know the exact dimensions of the bed beneath you. You might think this familiarity is just memory, but it is actually something deeper. It is geometry. Specifically, it is the geometry of stability. The world outside is chaotic. Nature is filled with fractals, irregular curves, jagged edges, and unpredictable slopes. A forest floor is uneven. A mountain path is treacherous. The ocean surface is constantly changing. But here in this room, you have entered the sanctuary of Euclidean order. Humans build in rectangles for a reason. We build in squares and right angles and parallel lines, not because we lack imagination, but because these shapes are the mathematical definition of safety. Consider the corner of your room where the walls meet the ceiling, 3 lines converging at a single point. 3 planes the floor, the north wall, the east wall intersecting at perfect 90-degree angles. This is not an accident. This is the strongest way to build a sanctuary. The vertical wall transfers the weight of the roof down to the foundation in a straight line, obeying the laws of physics with absolute precision. The horizontal floor provides a plane that is perpendicular to gravity, creating a surface where you can stand, or sit, or lie down without sliding, without effort, without having to grip the earth to keep from falling. The rectangle is the shape of certainty. Circles are beautiful, yes, but they are restless. They suggest movement, rolling, an endless cycle without a beginning or an end. Triangles are strong, but they are sharp, directional, pointing somewhere. But the rectangle? The rectangle is the shape of staying. It is the shape of a pause. It is 4 right angles that have agreed to stop moving, to hold a space open, to create a container for existence. Your bed is likely a rectangle. Have you ever wondered why? Why not a circle? Why not an oval? Because the rectangle mirrors the axis of your body when you are at rest. You are a line segment, and the bed is the plane that supports that line. When you lie down, you align yourself with the geometry of the room. You become parallel to the walls. You become parallel to the floor. You enter into a geometric agreement with your environment. You are saying, I am no longer fighting gravity, I am aligning with it. There is a profound peace in parallel lines. Look at the walls on either side of you. They are parallel. By definition, parallel lines never meet. They never cross. They never clash. They maintain a respectful, consistent distance for infinity. They hold the space between them open. If they were not parallel, the room would be closing in, or tapering off, or becoming unstable. But because they are mathematically parallel, they create a volume of space that is constant. They are holding this space open for you. They are pushing back the chaos of the outside world and creating a vacuum of safety where you can simply be. Think about the concept of a boundary. In mathematics, a boundary defines a set. Everything inside the boundary is set A. Everything outside is set B. The walls of your room are the physical manifestation of this mathematical concept. They are the coordinate system that defines here, tonight, here, tonight, here is a solved equation. Inside this rectangle, the variables are known. The temperature is controlled. The light is dim. The predators are locked out. The wind is stopped. Inside this geometric set, the probability of danger approaches zero. You don't have to maintain these boundaries. You don't have to stand at the wall and hold it up. The geometry does the work. The vertical studs in the wall are transferring load right now. The horizontal joists are distributing tension. The 90-degree connections are resisting shear forces. The math is active so you can be passive. The structure is vigilant so you can be vulnerable. Even the door is a piece of binary logic, a rectangle that serves as a switch. When it is open, the circuit is connected to the world. When it is closed, the circuit is broken. You are offline. The door is a solid plane that completes the rectangle of the room. When you shut it, you completed the geometry. You sealed the set. You created a closed system. And in thermodynamics, a closed system is easier to stabilize. It retains its heat. It maintains its state. By closing that rectangular door, you gave your nervous system permission to stop scanning the horizon. The horizon is gone. There is only the room, and within this room there is the concept of area. Length times width. This is the space you occupy. But notice something comforting. You don't need to occupy all of it. You don't need to fill the corners. You don't need to touch the ceiling. You are a subset of the room's area. You are a small, finite presence within a larger, stable container. The room is bigger than you. It can handle you. It has more capacity than you have mass. You are not too heavy for this floor. You are not too loud for these walls. You are not too much for this space. The geometry of this room was calculated to hold much more than just your body. It was calculated to hold your life, your furniture, your movement, and your stillness. There is a calmness in the right angle because it is the angle of maximum opposition to gravity's pull. A leaning wall is fighting gravity and losing. A vertical wall is fighting gravity and winning. It is in equilibrium, and that is what you are feeling when you look at the shadows in the corner of the room. You are feeling equilibrium. You are seeing a static equation. Nothing is falling. Nothing is sliding. Nothing is sliding. Nothing is collapsing. The math is holding. In a world that feels fluid, shifting, and sometimes slippery, you are anchored in a grid. You are located on a Cartesian plane. X, Y, and Z. You are not lost in a void. You are at a specific set of coordinates, protected by planes and angles that have been engineered for exactly this purpose, to stand still. To stand still for years. To stand still while you sleep. To stand still so that you don't have to. Let your mind trace the lines of the room. The long, straight line of the curtain rod. The solid, rectangular frame of the window. The edge of the dresser. The outline of the doorway. These are not just shapes. They are promises. They are the promise that reality has a structure. That matter follows rules. That the roof will not dissolve and the floor will not give way. You are held in a box of certainty, and while we often use thinking inside the box as a metaphor for limitation, tonight the box is not a limit, it is a hug, it is a shield, it is the mathematical certainty that nothing can get to you from the outside, and nothing you are feeling on the inside is too big to be contained. You are safe within the geometry. The rectangle is the most restful shape in the universe, because it is the shape that requires no movement to maintain. A ball must be balanced. A pyramid must be centered. But a block just sits. It settles. It rests with its entire surface area against the foundation. It is the definition of grounded. And so are you. You are grounded. You are aligned. You are held by lines that do not waver and angles that do not shift. The geometry of this room is doing its job perfectly. It has created a stable, static, silent volume of space just for you. You don't need to measure it. You don't need to build it. You just need to occupy it. You just need to be the line segment at rest on the plane, held by the grid, safe inside the calculation. The walls are standing guard. The corners are holding the weight. The rectangle is complete. You can close your eyes. The math will hold the room together while you sleep. Before we continue, if you like these types of deep thinking videos, please take a moment to subscribe and like so that we know that the YouTube algorithm is sharing the videos to the right people. Thanks. The sheen wave. Imagine a line. In our modern world, we are obsessed with a specific kind of line, the line that goes up and to the right, the line of linear growth, the line of constant progress, the line of more. We want our bank accounts to go up, our productivity to go up, our happiness to go up, forever, without ceasing. We treat life as a ladder, a straight shot towards some imaginary summit, and because of this, when we feel our energy dip, when we feel tired, when we feel like we are sliding backward or downward, we panic. We think something has gone wrong with the trajectory. We think the line is broken. But nature does not move in straight lines. Nature moves in waves. Specifically, nature follows the mathematics of the sine wave. Picture a smooth, gentle curve. It rises to a peak, rounds off softness, and descends. It crosses the center line, the 0 point, and continues down into a valley, a trough. It bottoms out, rounds off again, and begins to rise. This shape is not an accident. It is the fundamental geometry of energy in the universe. Light travels in waves. Sound travels in waves. The seasons oscillate. The tides recede and return. The alternating current electricity humming in the walls of your room right now is dancing back and forth, positive to negative, 60 times a second. Your body is a collection of these waves. You are not a statue. You are a symphony of oscillation. Your heart beats in a rhythm systole, diastole. Squeeze, release, tension, relaxation. It does not stay squeezed. If it did, the flow would stop. It must release. It must go down to the bottom of the cycle to fill up again. Your lungs follow the same curve. Inhale, exhale, expansion, contraction. You cannot inhale forever. You must let the air go. You must descend into the emptiness of the lungs to prepare for the next breath. Sleep is simply the trough of the wave. It is the diastole of your day. It is the exhale of your consciousness. And here is the mathematical comfort. The trough is not a failure of the wave. The valley is not a mistake. The down phase is exactly as important, exactly as necessary, and exactly as mathematically valid as the up phase. You cannot have a wave with only crests. That isn't a wave. That's a flat line at high altitude, which is unsustainable and desperate. To have rhythm, to have movement, to have life, you must have the descent. Tonight, you are in the descent. You are sliding down the back of the curve. And because you are used to the up and to the right mentality, you might be fighting this. You might be trying to prop yourself up, trying to force your brain to stay at peak operating capacity, trying to maintain the high of the day. But the math says, let go. The math says the descent is where the potential energy is gathered. Think of a swing set. When you swing back, you are moving away from the destination, moving backward, moving down. But that backward motion is what gathers the energy for the forward motion. If you stop the swing at the bottom because you were afraid of going back, you would never move forward again. You have to go back. You have to go down. You have to enter the trough. Sleep is the gathering phase. It is the part of the sine wave where the kinetic energy of doing transforms into the potential energy of being. Look at the graph of a sine wave in your mind. It is smooth. It is continuous. There are no sharp corners, no jagged edges where you suddenly crash. It is a gradient. The sun does not turn off like a light switch. It arcs across the sky and dips below the horizon. It follows a sine wave. Twilight is the curve. Dusk is the curve. Your tiredness is not a crash. It is the curve. It is the gentle slope carrying you toward the 0 point. There is a concept in mathematics called periodicity. It means that the function repeats. This is the promise of the sine wave. It always comes back. You don't have to worry that if you go to sleep, you will miss your life. You don't have to worry that if you let go of consciousness, you won't get it back. The wave is periodic. The sun will rise. The lungs will inflate. The heart will beat. The morning will come. The math guarantees the return. Because the return is guaranteed, you are free to fully inhabit the departure. You are free to ride the wave all the way down to the bottom. Think about the ocean. The waves that crash on the shore are the active part, the visible part, the loud part. That is your waking life. But behind the crash, there is the vast, silent, rhythmic swelling of the deep water. That is the sine wave in its purest form. When you float in the ocean, you don't fight the swell. You let it lift you, and you let it lower you. When you are in the trough between two waves, the world disappears. The horizon vanishes. You are held in a quiet blue valley of water. It is the most peaceful place in the sea. Tonight, bed is that valley. You are in the trough between the wave of today and the wave of tomorrow. The walls of water, the demands of the past and the future, are high on either side, blocking out the noise. Down here, in the dip, it is quiet. Down here, the amplitude is low. Amplitude is the measure of how loud the wave is, how far it travels from the center. High amplitude is high energy, high volume, high stress. Zero amplitude is silence. As you fall asleep, you are dampening the wave. You are reducing the amplitude. You are letting the vibrations of the day settle into a gentle hum. You don't need to be flat. You don't need to be a straight line. You just need to be a gentle wave, a ripple, soft, slow, low frequency. The universe loves this shape. It draws it everywhere. It draws it in the dunes of the desert, in the rings of trees, in the spiral of galaxies, in the coils of your DNA. You are built of curves. You are built of cycles. To resist sleep is to try to be linear in a curved universe. It is trying to swim upstream against the flow of time itself. Let the wave take you. Feel the downward slope. It's not a fall, it's a slide. A smooth, calculated, geometric slide into rest. You are passing through the 0 point now. The point of neutrality. The point where the positive charge of the day cancels out and you enter the negative, quiet, dark charge of the night. Both are power. Both are energy. Just different polarities. Rest is not the absence of life. It is the other half of the frequency. You cannot hear the music if there is no silence between the notes. You cannot have the day if you do not have the night. You are completing the equation by sleeping. You are balancing the function. So, stop trying to hold the peak. The peak is over. The peak was noon. The peak was that meeting. The peak was that daylight. Now is the time for the valley. The valley is safe. The valley is sheltered. The valley is where the soil is rich and the roots grow deep. Let yourself sink into the sine wave. Let the rhythm rock you. Up and down, in and out, awake and asleep. The math is flawless. The cycle is unbroken. The wave is carrying you, and it knows exactly where it is going. It is going to the bottom, to the quietest point, to the place of perfect rest. And then, without any effort from you, it will rise again. But not yet. For now, just the slide, just the dip, just the wave. Friction. Notice the feeling of your skin against the sheets. Notice the texture of the pillow beneath your cheek. Notice the slight resistance when you move your leg. The way the fabric holds onto you. The way the mattress grips your body. You might just call this comfort. You might call it coziness. But in the language of physics, You are experiencing one of the most essential and protective forces in the universe. You are experiencing friction. In our waking lives, we often treat friction as the enemy. We want things to be frictionless. We want frictionless transactions, frictionless travel, frictionless relationships, frictionless progress. We view resistance as an obstacle, a drag on our efficiency, a waste of energy. We spend billions of dollars trying to reduce drag, seeking aerodynamics, lubricating engines, smoothing out the rough edges of existence so we can move faster. But imagine, just for a moment, a world without friction. A world where the coefficient of friction equals 0. It would be a nightmare of eternal chaos. If you tried to lie down in a frictionless bed, you would slide off instantly. If you tried to walk, you would slip forever. If you placed a glass of water on a table, it would drift away at the slightest vibration. Nothing would stay where you put it. Nothing would hold. The world would be a terrifying, endless slide where rest was physically impossible because staying requires resistance. Tonight, friction is not an obstacle. Friction is the hero. Friction is the force that allows you to stop. The physics of what is happening between you and your bed is actually quite beautiful. It is called mechanical interlocking. If you looked at your sheets under a microscope and then looked at your skin or your pajamas under a microscope, you wouldn't see smooth surfaces. You would see landscapes. You would see tiny hills, valleys, peaks, and ridges. When you lie down, these microscopic landscapes press against each other. The hills of the fabric settle into the valleys of your skin. The ridges interlock. They hold hands at a microscopic level. This interlocking creates a force that opposes motion. It creates a grip. It is why you can relax your muscles completely and not worry about sliding onto the floor. The friction is holding you in place. It is a billion tiny anchors deployed by the laws of physics to keep you safe in this specific location. There are two types of friction, and understanding the difference can help you rest. There is kinetic friction, the force that acts when things are sliding past each other. This is the friction of the day, the friction of moving through traffic, moving through tasks, moving through conversations. It generates heat. It wears things down. It is the friction of doing. But right now you are experiencing static friction. This is the friction of being. Static friction is the force that must be overcome to start moving. And here is the comforting math. The coefficient of static friction is almost always higher than the coefficient of kinetic friction. It is harder to start moving than it is to keep moving. Usually we think of this as inertia or laziness. We think it's so hard to get out of bed. But reframe that. The universe wants you to stay in bed. The laws of physics have rigged the game to make it harder to leave and to stay. The static friction is higher. The bond is stronger. The universe is biasing the equation in favor of rest. It is exerting more force to keep you here than it would to keep you moving. Feel that static friction now. It is a kind of stillness that has weight. It is the reason the blanket stays on top of you. Gravity pulls the blanket down, but friction keeps it from sliding off to the side. The friction between the fibers of the blanket and the fibers of the sheet creates a stable, warm enclosure. You are trapped in the most benevolent sense of the word. You are caught in a web of resistance that prevents the cold from getting in and the heat from getting out. Think of friction as the brakes of reality. You have been driving hard all day. Your engine has been revving. Your momentum has been high. You cannot just turn the car off while it is moving. You have to apply the brakes. You have to use friction to convert that kinetic energy into heat and silence. The feeling of heaviness or drag you might feel in your body right now is just the brakes working. It is the friction absorbing the momentum of the day. This force allows for intimacy with your environment. Without friction, you would never truly touch anything. You would just collide and bounce off. But friction allows you to settle into the mattress. It allows the pillow to mold to your head and stay there. It allows the hug of the bedding to persist. It creates a relationship of contact that is stable and enduring. Even the air in the room is subject to friction viscosity. The air is not moving violently. It is slowed down by the friction against the walls, against the furniture, against the floor. This creates a boundary layer of still air around you, a protective bubble of calm. The friction of the air molecules against each other dampens sound, turning the sharp noises of the outside world into a muffled, distant hum. Friction is the silencer. So if you feel stuck tonight, if you feel like you can't move, if you feel the heavy drag of exhaustion, celebrate it. That drag is the only thing keeping the world from flying apart. That resistance is the scaffolding of stability. You are not stuck, you are anchored. You are being held in place by the microscopic embrace of the material world. Let the friction take over. Let the surfaces interlock. Let the static friction rise until it is impossible to move, impossible to worry, impossible to do anything but exist right here, in this spot, held fast by the gentle, gritty, resisting hands of the universe. You are safe because you are stopping. And you are stopping because friction is doing the work of holding you still. The equation is not a threat. It is a promise. It promises that the force of friction will always rise to meet the need, up to a limit determined by the nature of the materials and how heavy you are. The heavier you let yourself be, the stronger the friction becomes. The more you surrender to gravity, the more the bed holds you back. The more you let go, the tighter the universe holds on. Trust the grip. Trust the roughness of reality that keeps you from slipping. Trust the friction. It is the force that lets you stop. And you are allowed to stop. Probability. In our waking lives, we are often driven by a relentless pressure to be exceptional. We are told to stand out, to be an outlier, to perform at 3, 4, or 5 standard deviations above the mean. We are told that average is a dirty word, a synonym for failure, a trap to be avoided at all costs. We burn incredible amounts of energy trying to push ourselves to the edges of the graph, trying to be the one in a million, the unique, the extraordinary. But tonight, I want you to visualize the most comforting shape in all of statistics, the bell curve. The Gaussian distribution. Picture a gentle hill. It rises smoothly from the left, rounds off at a comfortable wide peak, and slopes gently down to the right. It looks like a mountain worn down by time. It looks like a heap of sand. It looks like a pillow. This curve represents how almost everything in nature behaves. It represents the distribution of height, of weight, of blood pressure, of leaf size, of star luminosity. And right in the middle, at the very highest point of that gentle hill, is the men. The average. Tonight, the men is not a place of mediocrity. It is a place of safety. Think about what it means to be an outlier. In statistics, an outlier is a data point that is far away from the center. It is out in the tails of the curve. To be an outlier is to be isolated. It is to be exposed. In biology, being an outlier is often dangerous. If your body temperature is an outlier, you have a fever or hypothermia. If your heart rate is an outlier, you are in tachycardia or bradycardia. If your blood pressure is an outlier, you are in crisis. Health, stability, and survival are found in the middle. They are found in the fat part of the curve. They are found in the average. Tonight, you have permission to stop trying to be an outlier. You have permission to retreat from the edges of the graph, where the wind is cold and the energy cost is high, and come back to the warm, crowded, safe center. You are allowed to be average. In fact, statistically speaking, you are average. And this is wonderful news. It means you are not alone. To be in the middle of the bell curve is to be surrounded by the vast majority of existence. Within 1 standard deviation of the mean, that zone right in the center lives 68% of all data. Within 2 standard deviations, 95%. When you let yourself slide back to the center, you are joining the 95%. You are joining the tribe. You are joining the collective stability of the human race. Sleep is the ultimate regression to the mean. No matter how exceptional you try to be during the day, no matter how hard you work, how brilliant you have to be, how unique your problems feel, when you lie down and close your eyes, you become statistically identical to every other human being who has ever lived. Your breathing slows to an average rate. Your brainwaves synchronize to an average frequency. Your needs become the average needs. Warmth, safety, air. You are shedding the exhausting costume of uniqueness and putting on the comfortable uniform of biology. You are becoming a data point in the center of the cluster. There is a concept in statistics called the law of large numbers. It states that as a sample size grows, its mean gets closer to the average of the whole population. In other words, the more data you have, the more stable the truth becomes. The chaos cancels out. The noise fades away. Apply this to your worries. A single worry feels huge. It feels like an outlier. It screams for attention. But if you zoom out, if you look at the law of large numbers applied to your life, that worry is just one data point in a set of millions. You have lived thousands of days. You have had millions of thoughts. You have faced thousands of problems. And the average outcome? The mean result? You survived. You are here. You are safe. The law of large numbers suggests that the catastrophes your mind invents are statistical improbabilities. They are the tails of the curve. Thin, unlikely, distant. The reality, the thick, substantial center of the curve is that tonight will be like most other nights. You will sleep. You will wake. The roof will hold. The world will turn. Probability is the math of prediction. And while we cannot predict the future with 100% certainty, we can predict it with high confidence. We can look at the confidence interval. Imagine drawing a circle around yourself right now, a statistical boundary. Inside this circle is the likely outcome. Outside is the unlikely outcome. Your anxiety wants you to focus on the outside, on the freak accidents, the disasters, the what-ifs. But math tells us to bet on the inside, to bet on the mean. If you have slept every night of your life so far, the probability of you sleeping tonight is approaching 1. The probability of the sun rising is approaching 1. The probability of your heart continuing to beat is approaching 1. These are not random guesses. These are calculated trends based on a massive data set. You can trust the trend line. There is another comforting statistical concept: regression to the mean. It observes that if a variable is extreme on its first measurement, it will tend to be closer to the average on its second measurement. If today was a terrible day, an outlier of stress, of sadness, of pain, statistics offers you a promise. It says that tomorrow is very likely to be better, not because of magic, but because extreme states are hard to maintain. Nature abhors an outlier. It pulls everything back to the center. If you are feeling at the edge of your capacity right now, know that the math is pulling you back. The elastic band of the bell curve is gently tugging you toward the middle, toward the baseline, toward the normal. You don't have to fight to fix a bad day. You just have to wait for the regression. You just have to let the math do its work of smoothing out the variance. Feel yourself sliding down the slope of that bell curve. You climbed up the side of it all day, trying to be high, trying to be seen. Now, slide down into the mass. Be one of the many. Be indistinguishable from the rest of the sleeping world. There is safety in numbers. A single soldier is vulnerable. An army is a force. A single thread is weak. A woven sheet is strong. You are being woven back into the fabric of humanity tonight. You are giving up the lonely post of the outlier. Let the probability density function wrap around you. The area under the curve is equal to 1. That means the probability that you exist, that you are here, that you are part of this system is 100%. You are not a glitch. You are not an error term. You are a significant result. Rest in the certainty of the average. Rest in the knowledge that most things, most of the time, turn out okay. That is what okay means. It is the most common outcome. It is the default setting of reality. Catastrophe is rare. Peace is common. Turmoil is the exception. Stability is the rule. You are safe in the middle. You are held by the majority. You are protected by the probability. Tonight, you don't have to be special. You don't have to be unique. You just have to be. And being is the most normal, average, statistically probable thing you can do. Let the curve hold you. Let the numbers comfort you. Let the mean be your mattress. You are exactly where you are statistically supposed to be. The number 0. We are often afraid of nothingness. We are afraid of empty schedules, of silent rooms, of the void where our thoughts usually run. We are taught to fill every space, to maximize every moment, to ensure that the sum of our day is always a positive integer. We treat 0 as a failure condition, a 0 in the bank account, a 0 on the test. A 0 in the inbox is the only good 0, and even that is a source of anxiety because we know it won't stay 0 for long. But in the history of mathematics, 0 is not a failure. It is perhaps the greatest and most comforting invention of the human mind. For centuries, civilizations struggled to do complex math because they had no concept for nothing. They had numbers for 1 cow, 2 stones, 3 stars, but they had no number for the absence of things. It was the Indian mathematicians, like Brahmagupta, who finally gave nothing a name, a shape, and a place in the universe. They realized that without 0, the entire system collapses. Without a symbol for emptiness, you cannot build a structure that holds value. Think about the number line. It stretches infinitely to the positive right, all the things you have to do, all the things you have to do, all the things you have to be. It stretches infinitely to the negative left, all the debts, all the regrets, all the past mistakes. But right in the center, anchoring the entire infinite line, is 0. The origin, the point of perfect neutrality. Tonight, you are returning to the origin. 0 is the only number that is neither positive nor negative. It takes no sides. It has no charge. It owes nothing to the left and demands nothing from the right. It simply is. It is the fulcrum upon which the heavy seesaw of your life balances. When you lie down to sleep, you are stepping off the line of more and less and standing on the point of neither. Consider the shape of the number itself. A circle, an oval, a loop that encloses a space. It is a container. This is the secret of 0. It is not just an absence, it is a capacity. A cup is most useful when it is empty. A room is most welcoming when it has space. Your mind is most capable of rest when it approaches the mathematical state of 0. We spend our days accumulating. We add tasks. We multiply worries. We compound stress. We deal in complex equations of social obligations and professional demands. But sleep is the mathematics of subtraction. It is the gentle removal of variables until you are left with a null set. Anything multiplied by 0 becomes 0. The biggest number you can imagine, trillions of dollars, millions of problems, infinite complexity multiplied by 0 vanishes instantly. It doesn't fight back. It doesn't negotiate. It simply yields to the power of nothingness. Sleep is that multiplier. Sleep is the operator that touches the complex equation of your day and turns it into a quiet, round, perfect 0. You don't have to solve the problems tonight. You just have to multiply them by sleep. There is a concept in set theory called the empty set, a set that contains no elements. It seems like a paradox, a collection of nothing, but set theory is built on it. You can build the entire universe of mathematics starting from the empty set. It is the foundation. It is the beginning. Tonight, you are clearing the set. You are taking out the element of work. You are removing the element of planning. You are discarding the element of regret. You are emptying the set until it contains only one thing, you. And then, finally, even you dissolves into the sleep, and the set is truly empty. This emptiness is not scary, it is spacious. It is the feeling of a clean desk. It is the feeling of a freshly swept floor. It is the feeling of a blank page. 0 is the number of potential. You cannot write a new day on a page that is already full. You need the blankness. You need the 0 to make the 1 of tomorrow possible. The Arabs called it sifar, which gives us the word sifar, which gives us the word kaifa, a code, a secret. The secret of 0 is that it is a placeholder. In a number like 105, the 0 is holding the tens place empty so that the hundreds place can exist. It is doing the work of holding space. It is standing guard over the emptiness so that the structure of the number remains sound. Your sleep is the zero in the number of your life. It holds the space between the days. If you didn't have this zero, your days would crash into each other. The 1 would smash into the 5, and the value would be lost. You need the placeholder. You need the gap. You need the nothingness to give value to the somethingness. So tonight, do not fear the void. Do not fear the quiet. Do not fear the moment when your thoughts stop and there is nothing left to think. That is the origin. That is the safe harbor. That is the mathematical center of the universe. Let yourself count backward, not to infinity, but to 0. Let the numbers fall away. 10, 9, 9, 8, shedding the weight. 3, Ted, the weight. 3, Tay, 1, 7, 1. And finally, the relief of 0. The circle closes. The set is empty. The equation is balanced. There is nothing left to do. Nothing left to count. Nothing left to be. Just the beautiful, round, protective silence of 0. You have reached the origin. You are home. Integration. Calculus is often remembered as a source of academic anxiety, a confusing world of limits, derivatives, and complex notation. But at its heart, calculus is simply the study of how things change and how things accumulate. It is the mathematics of life itself. And tonight, it offers you a profound permission to let go of the whole and rest in the part. There are 2 main branches of calculus. One is differentiation, breaking things down. The other, the one we need tonight, is integration. Integration is the process of finding the total by adding up an infinite number of tiny pieces. It is how you find the area under a curve. Think about your life right now as a graph. On the vertical axis is intensity, the stress, the work, the emotions, the events. On the horizontal axis is time. When you look back at your day, or your week, or your year, you are looking at the integral. You are looking at the total area under the curve. You are seeing the sum of all that effort, all that worry, all that time. And looking at the integral is exhausting. It is heavy. It is a massive block of experience that feels too big to carry. But calculus teaches us a secret. The integral doesn't exist as a solid block. It is actually made of an infinite number of infinitesimally thin slices. Here is the comfort of calculus. You do not live in the integral. You cannot live in the sum. You can only ever inhabit the single, tiny, razor-thin slice of the present moment. When you lie in bed worrying, it is usually because you are trying to hold the integral. You are trying to carry the weight of the entire past week or the anticipated weight of the entire coming month. You are trying to lift the whole area under the curve at once, but physics does not ask you to do this. Time does not allow you to do this. You are physically incapable of existing anywhere. Look at this specific tiny slice of time you are in right now. In this slice, right now, what is happening? You are lying down. The air is moving in and out of your lungs. The blanket is warm. That's it. In this slice, there is no project due. That is, in a future slice. In this slice, there is no regret. That is, in a past slice. In this slice, this infinitesimally thin sliver of reality, there is only safety. There is only the bed. There is only the breath. Calculus proves that if you shrink the slice thin enough, the curve at the top becomes flat, even if your life feels like a roller coaster. With steep climbs and terrifying drops, if you zoom in far enough, the line is flat. For this millisecond, you are not falling. You are not climbing. You are just here. The slope of the moment is 0. This is how you rest. You stop trying to integrate. You stop trying to do the math of the whole. You trust that the integral will take care of itself. The sum will add up whether you worry about it or not. The accumulation happens automatically. Your job is not the accumulation. Your job is just to inhabit the slice. Think of a loaf of bread sliced infinitely thin. You cannot eat the whole loaf at once. You can only handle one crumb. Tonight, you are being offered just one crumb of time. Just this breath. And then the next one, and then the next. This is the Riemann sum of rest. You are building a night of sleep not by achieving 8 hours of unconsciousness all at once, but by stacking one relaxed moment on top of another. You don't have to go to sleep as a massive task. There is a notation in calculus, the integral symbol. It looks like a stylized S for sum. It stands tall and curved. Imagine that symbol standing guard at the foot of your bed. It is saying, I will hold the sum. I will keep track of the total. You just be here. You are allowed to be small tonight. You are allowed to be narrow. You're allowed to occupy only the tiniest fraction of time, the heavy lifting of life, the total area, the grand narrative, the big picture that is the integral's problem. It is not your problem right now. Right now, it approaches zero. The width of your responsibility approaches zero. The weight you have to carry approaches zero. In the limit, as approaches infinity, your burden vanishes completely. Let yourself dissolve into the math. You are not the curve. You are not the area. You are just the position. You are just the point. And a point has no dimension, no weight, and no worry. It just exists. Be the point. Be the slice. Let the calculus of the universe handle the rest. The sum is safe. The total is calculated. You are free to simply be in the tiny, quiet, infinite safety of the now. The triangle. We often take for granted that the buildings we sleep in will remain standing. We walk into a room, lie down, and close our eyes without a second thought about the massive weight of the roof above our heads. We assume, implicitly, that the ceiling will not collapse. But why? What is the basis of this trust? It is not magic. It is not luck. It is the triangle. In the world of structural engineering, the triangle is the only shape that is inherently rigid. If you build a square out of 4 beams and push on one corner, the square will distort into a diamond. It will rack. It will fold. It is unstable, but if you take 3 beams and connect them to form a triangle, that shape cannot change. You can push on any side, pull on any corner, apply force from any direction, and the triangle will hold its shape. The only way to change a triangle is to break one of its sides. Short of destruction, it is immutable. This is why, hidden inside the walls of your room and above the ceiling in your attic, there are thousands of triangles. They are called trusses. They are the invisible skeletons of stability. Tonight you are being held safe by the geometry of the triangle. The roof above you, which carries the weight of shingles, insulation, maybe snow or rain, and its own massive timber beams, is not just sitting there. It is being actively channeled away from you by triangles. The truss takes the downward force of gravity and splits it. It sends the weight down the angled sides of the triangle, away from the center of the room, and into the walls. Think about that redirection. The heavy thing, the roof, the weight, the pressure is being moved away from you. The triangles are taking the burden and pushing it to the periphery. They are clearing the space above your bed. They are creating a zone of safety where gravity is managed, controlled, and neutralized. You are resting inside a structure that has been mathematically proven to stand. The ancient Egyptians knew this when they built the pyramids, massive, enduring triangles that have lasted for thousands of years. The triangle is the shape of permanence. It is the shape of I will not move. And there is a deeper comfort in the number 3. 2 points determine a line, but 3 points determine a plane. A stool with 3 legs never wobbles. It defines its own stable surface, no matter how uneven the ground is. 4 legs can wobble if the floor is imperfect. The 3 finds stability instantly. 3 is self-correcting. You are supported by this stability. The floor joists, the wall studs, the roof rafters, they are all working together in a triangular dance of compression and tension. Compression is the pushing force. Tension is the putting force. The triangle resolves these forces perfectly. It balances the push and the pull so that the net result is stillness. Feel that stillness now. It is not a passive stillness. It is a dynamic stillness. It is the result of forces being perfectly managed. The house is not just standing. It is actively resisting gravity every second. The triangles are working so you don't have to. They are holding the weight of the world at bay. If you are carrying a heavy worry tonight, a problem that feels like a weight on your chest, imagine handing it to a triangle. Visualize the problem at the peak. Now watch as the two sides of the triangle channel that weight down and away, grounding it into the earth. The triangle doesn't fight the weight, it distributes it. It shares the load. It uses geometry to turn a heavy force into a manageable one. You are surrounded by these shapes of strength. The corners of the room, the pitch of the roof, even the microscopic structure of the materials in your walls often forms crystalline lattices based on triangles. It is the fundamental geometry of solidity. So when you close your eyes, you are not closing them in a fragile bubble. You are closing them inside a fortress of mathematics. A fortress built of the strongest, most unshakable shape in the universe. The triangle is standing guard. It is taking the weight. It is holding the roof. It is keeping the sky from falling. You are safe in the center of the structure, protected by the structural truth of the three sides. You can rest now. The geometry has you. Fractals. Have you ever looked at a tree? Really looked at it? You see the trunk, thick and solid. Then it splits into boughs. Those boughs split into branches. The branches split into twigs, and the twigs split into the veins of the leaves. If you were to cut a branch off and stand it up in the ground, it would look like a miniature tree. This is not a coincidence. This is a fractal. A fractal is a mathematical shape that is self-similar. It means the pattern of the whole is repeated in the pattern of the parts. No matter how much you zoom in or how much you zoom out, the rules of the structure remain the same. The coastlines of continents are fractals. The path of lightning is a fractal. The swirling of milk in your coffee is a fractal. And here is the most comforting truth of all. You are a fractal. Look at your own body. Your lungs are branching fractals, dividing and dividing until they can absorb the oxygen of the air. Your circulatory system is a fractal, veins branching into capillaries to feed every cell. Your nervous system is a fractal lightning storm of connections. You are not a stranger to this world. You are not an alien observer placed in a foreign environment. You are built using the exact same mathematical code as the rivers, the mountains, and the stars. We often feel isolated. We feel like we are separate from nature, separate from the universe, separate from each other. We feel small and disconnected. But fractal geometry proves that separate is an illusion. You are a seamless iteration of the universal pattern. You fit here. You belong here. You cannot not belong here because you are made of the same geometry as here. There is a famous fractal called the Mandelbrot set. It is an infinitely complex shape generated by a very simple equation. It creates a boundary that is infinitely detailed. If you zoom into the edge of the Mandelbrot set, you find new worlds, new spirals, new shapes that look like the original but are uniquely their own. It goes on forever. This suggests that your life too has infinite depth. You might feel like you were just living one ordinary day, but inside that day are hours. Inside the hours are moments. Inside the moments are breaths. Inside the breaths are thoughts. And each level of magnification reveals more beauty, more complexity, more life. You are not finite. You are a vessel of infinite detail. Fractals solve the problem of how to fit infinite things into finite spaces. Your lungs have a surface area roughly the size of a tennis court, yet they fit inside your chest. How? Fractal folding. The math allows for massive capacity within a small, safe container. You have more capacity than you know. You can handle more than you think. Not because you are forcing it, but because you are faulting it, but because you are folded. You are designed to hold vastness inside you without breaking. Tonight, you can rest in the knowledge of self-similarity. The peace you find in a forest is the same peace you can find in your own breath. Because the branching of the trees and the branching of your lungs are the same equation. The rhythm of the ocean waves is the same math as the rhythm of your sleep cycle. You don't have to go out into nature to find peace. You are nature. You are the math of the universe organizing itself into a person. Think about the roughness of a fractal. It is not smooth like a plastic sphere. It is jagged, textured, complex, and that roughness is what makes it real. If your day was rough, if your life feels jagged, that doesn't mean it's broken. It means it's a fractal. It means it has texture. It means it has texture. It means it is following the pattern of real, living things. Clouds are not spheres. Mountains are not cones. Bark is not smooth. And you do not have to be perfect to be beautiful. You just have to be your own pattern, repeating, growing, unfolding. Let yourself feel the connection. The same laws that organize the galaxies are organizing your dreams tonight. The same logic that builds the fern leaf is building your cells while you sleep. You are safe because you are part of the pattern. You are not a mistake. You are a fractal iteration of the cosmos, perfectly detailed, infinitely deep, and exactly where you are supposed to be. The limit. There is a specific kind of anxiety that comes when you are lying in bed, waiting for sleep, and it feels like it isn't coming. You check the clock. You adjust the pillow. You close your eyes, then open them. You feel like you are chasing something, a state of unconsciousness that keeps moving just out of reach. You feel like you are trying to jump across a canyon, and you keep falling short. But mathematics suggests that sleep is not a canyon you have to jump across. It is a limit you are inevitably approaching. In calculus, a limit is one of the most fundamental and beautiful concepts. It describes what happens to a function as it gets closer and closer to a specific value. It doesn't ask what is the value at the end. It asks where is the value going. It is the study of the approach. The notation is elegant. You might remember a famous philosophical puzzle called Zeno's paradox. Zeno argued that motion is impossible because before you can get from point A to point B, you must first travel half the distance. And before you can travel that half, you must travel half of that half, and before that, half again. Because you can divide space infinitely, Zeno argued, you have to complete an infinite number of tasks just to move an inch. Therefore, you can never actually arrive. Usually, this paradox is presented as a source of frustration. It makes us feel trapped. But tonight, I want you to reframe Zeno's paradox as the ultimate mechanism of relaxation. Think about what the paradox is actually saying. Think about what the paradox is actually saying. It is saying that between you and the destination, there are infinite moments, infinite subdivisions of time, infinite opportunities to slow down. If you have to go halfway, and then halfway again, and then halfway again, you are not failing to arrive. You are engaging in a process of infinite deceleration. You are slowing down, and then you are slowing down more, and then you are slowing down even more. This is the mathematical definition of easing into it. You are not crashing into sleep. You are undergoing a smooth, continuous asymptotic approach. An asymptote is a line that a curve approaches but never quite touches, or rather, it touches it only at infinity. The curve gets closer and closer and closer. The distance between the curve and the line becomes microscopic. It becomes infinitesimal. To the naked eye, a curve that is approaching an asymptote looks like it has already landed. If you are 0.001 millimeters away from the mattress, are you touching it? For all practical purposes, yes. This is the concept of arbitrarily close. In formal mathematics, we use the Greek letter epsilon to represent a tiny, tiny positive number. We say that the limit exists if we can get within any distance epsilon, no matter how small. Apply this to your rest. You might feel like you aren't fully asleep yet. You might feel like your mind is still 1% active. But mathematics says, if you are within epsilon of sleep, you are effectively there. You are in the neighborhood of rest. You don't have to be perfectly, instantly unconscious to be resting. You just have to be approaching the limit. Lying there with your eyes closed, breathing slowly, even if you are awake, puts you asymptotically close to sleep. Your heart rate has slowed, approaching the limit. Your muscles have relaxed, approaching the limit. Your thoughts are becoming less coherent, approaching the limit. You are sliding down the curve, The beauty of the limit is that it removes the pressure of the jump. You don't have to switch from on to off in a single violent motion. You just have to halve the distance. Take a breath. That was half the distance to sleep. Release the tension in your jaw. That was half the remaining distance. Let your thoughts drift. That was half again. You are getting closer. The distance is shrinking. The gap between you and oblivion is becoming infinitesimally small. And Zeno's logic implies that this process is gentle. It is a soft landing. You don't hit the ground. You merge with it. There is a limit called the limit at infinity. This describes the long-term behavior of a system. What happens if you let time run forever? If you let a pendulum swing with friction, what is the limit as time goes to infinity? The limit is zero. It stops. It always stops. There is no physical system that maintains energy forever without input. You are a physical system. You have stopped inputting energy. You are lying down. You stopped eating. You stopped working. Therefore, mathematically, the limit of your energy is zero. It is a guarantee. You cannot stay awake forever. It violates the laws of thermodynamics. The limit will be reached. So you don't have to force it. You don't have to worry, what if I never sleep? The limit of the function goes to infinity as sleep. It is the inevitable attractor state of your biology. The math is pulling you there. You are just in the epsilon phase right now. The almost phase. And almost is a valid place to be. Almost is resting. Almost is safe. Feel the deceleration. You were moving fast today. Then you slowed down to come home. Then you slowed down to get ready for bed. Then you slowed down to lie here. Now you are slowing down your thoughts. You are taking smaller and smaller steps. The intervals are getting shorter. The movement is getting tinier. You are 1 unit of alertness away. Now 0.5. Now 0.5. Now 0.25. Now 0.125. The numbers are getting smaller. They are vanishing. Total stillness. You're drifting closer to the axis. The curve is flattening out. The struggle is dissolving into the geometry of the approach. Trust the limit. It is the wall that stops the chaos. It is the floor that catches the fall. You are approaching it perfectly. You are moving exactly as the math predicts, getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer, until the difference between you and the sleep you seek is too small to measure. You are there. You have reached the limit. Boolean logic. The world you navigate during the day is a world of infinite gradients. It is analog. It is filled with maybe, sort of, kind of, and it depends. You have to interpret the tone of an email. You have to gauge the mood of a room. You have to estimate how much time a task will take. You live in the gray areas, constantly adjusting, constantly calculating probabilities, constantly managing uncertainty. This is exhausting. The analog world requires immense processing power, because nothing is ever simply one thing or the other. But tonight, you are entering the world of Boolean logic. You are entering the digital sanctuary of the true and the false. Boolean logic is the mathematics that underlies every computer, every smartphone, every digital system on the planet. It was developed by George Boole in the 19th century, long before the first computer was built. He realized that all complex thought could be broken down into simple binary decisions. True or false. Yes or no. 1 or 0. On or off. There are no maybes in Boolean logic. There are no sort-ofs. The circuit is either closed, 1, or open, 0. The current flows or it doesn't. And this binary simplicity is the deepest form of rest available to a complex mind. Sleep is a Boolean operator. It is the command that sets the variable conscious to false. Right now, your brain is trying to hold on to the analog complexity of the day. It is replaying conversations. Was that okay? Worrying about tomorrow. What if? And spinning scenarios. It is processing in the gray. But your body is trying to execute a binary command. It is trying to flip the switch. Think about the physical reality of your situation right now. Are you safe? True. Are you in bed? True. Is there an immediate threat? False. These are binary states. You don't have to interpret them. You don't have to analyze them. You just have to acknowledge the value of the bit. The logic gate governing your night is the NOT gate. In computer science, a NOT gate takes an input and inverts it. If the input is 1 high active, the output is 0 low inactive. Your bedroom is a physical NOT gate. Your bedroom is a physical NOT gate. Input, noise. Output, silence. Input, light. Output, darkness. Input, movement. Output, stillness. You are passing through the gate. You are taking the high voltage signal of your waking life and inverting it into the low voltage signal of sleep. We often feel like we have to solve the gray areas before we can rest. We think, I need to figure out how I feel about this relationship, or I need to know exactly how the project will go. But Boolean logic says, you don't need to know the value of every variable to execute the sleep function. You just need to satisfy the initial conditions. If safe and tired, then sleep. That is the code. That is the algorithm. It doesn't say if safe and tired and life is perfect and all problems solved. The code is simpler than that. The conditions for sleep are basic, primal, and binary. If you are safe, true, and you are tired, true, the output is sleep. Your nervous system is digital in this way. A neuron either fires or it doesn't. There is no half fire. It is an all or nothing event called an action potential. When the threshold is reached, the signal is sent. Tonight, the threshold for rest has been reached. The signal is off. You can stop processing the analog data. You can stop trying to read between the lines. You can stop trying to interpret the shades of gray. Tonight, there is only black and white, darkness and light. Awake and asleep. Awake and asleep. And you are simply moving from one state to the other. Let yourself become binary. Worrying? False. Planning? False. Resting? True. The complexity of the day is a high impedance state. It resists flow. The simplicity of the night is zero impedance. It allows the current to ground. You are grounding yourself in the absolute certainty of the binary. In a computer, when a program hangs or freezes because the complexity is too high, what do? You don't type more code. You don't try to fix the glitch by adding more data. You hit the power switch. You force a restart. You use the binary authority of the on-off button to clear the memory and start fresh. Sleep is your restart. It is the ultimate off. It clears the cache. It dumps the temporary files. It resets the variables. But to get the benefit of the restart, you have to commit to the off. You have to let the switch flip. You have to accept the 0. You don't need to carry the 1 into the 0. You don't need to be a little bit awake. You are allowed to be completely off. The beauty of the binary is that it is decisive. It cuts through the noise. It doesn't negotiate. Am I asleep? Eventually, the answer flips from no to yes. There is no middle ground where you are sort of asleep forever. The system will switch. The logic holds. So trust the switch. Trust the simplicity of the logic gate. You are safe. True. You are tired. True. Therefore, you will sleep. The logic is flawless. The code is executing. You are powering down. And in the quiet, simple, digital dark, you are finding the rest that lives in the 0. Thermodynamics. There is a moment in every night that feels like a small miracle. You turn your pillow over to the cool side. You feel the heat of your face transfer into the fabric, and for a second, there is a perfect equilibrium of temperature. This isn't just comfort. This is the second law of thermodynamics in action, and hidden inside this law is the ultimate permission to rest. Thermodynamics is the study of energy and how it moves. And the second law states something very specific about the universe. Entropy always increases. Entropy is often described as disorder or chaos. We are taught to fear it. We are taught that things falling apart is bad. that we must constantly fight to keep our lives organized, our houses clean, our bodies fit, our schedules tight. We spend our entire waking lives battling entropy. We input energy, work, effort, thought to maintain order, to keep the sandcastle from washing away, to keep the room from getting messy, to keep the plan from falling apart. But tonight, the second law is not your enemy. It is your permission slip. The second law says that the natural state of the universe is to relax into disorder, to stop holding things together, to let the structure soften, to let the energy spread out, to let the heat dissipate. Think about what it takes to stay awake. It takes constant energy input. You have to focus your eyes. You have to tense your muscles. You have to organize your thoughts into coherent sentences. You have to maintain the order of being a conscious human. This is low entropy. This is high effort. Sleep is high entropy. Sleep is when you stop holding it all together. When you sleep, your thoughts become disordered. They turn into dreams nonsensical, fluid, unorganized. This isn't a failure of your brain. It is your brain finally obeying the second law. It is your mind releasing the energy it takes to make sense and just drifting. You are allowed to stop making sense tonight. You are allowed to let your thoughts unravel. You are allowed to let the strict order of your identity dissolve into the warm, messy, comfortable chaos of sleep. Consider the heat leaving your body. You are an exothermic system right now. You are releasing heat into the bed. You are cooling down. This is necessary for sleep. Your core body temperature must drop to initiate deep rest. Thermodynamics demands this flow. Heat moves from high concentration, you, to low concentration, the room. You are sharing your energy with the environment. You are not hoarding it. You are letting it go. We often feel guilty when we aren't building something, when we aren't creating order. But the universe does not build forever. It also dissolves. It disperses. It relaxes. The stars burn out. The mountains wear down. The coffee cools. Why should you be the only thing in the cosmos that has to maintain high energy forever? You are not exempt from the laws of physics. You are subject to them. And the laws say, you must cool down. You must disperse. You must stop maintaining the structure for a while. There is a concept called heat death, the idea that eventually the universe will reach a state of maximum entropy where everything is the same temperature and nothing happens. While this sounds bleak on a cosmic scale, on a personal scale, for tonight, it is exactly what you want. You want nothing to happen. You want to reach a state where you are not reacting, not changing, not working. You want your own personal heat death for the next 8 hours. A state of perfect, still, silent equilibrium. So, stop fighting the disorder. Let the laundry be messy. Let the emails be unorganized. Let the future be uncertain. Let your thoughts be random. You don't have to be the force of order tonight. You don't have to be the glue that holds reality together. Let entropy take over. Let the energy spread out. Let the structure collapse gently into the mattress. The universe wants to unravel. It wants to rest. And by going to sleep, you are finally moving with the flow of the cosmos instead of against it. You are obeying the second law. And the second law is dragging you, gently and inevitably, into the peace of not having to hold it all together. The golden ratio. When we see something beautiful, a flower, a shell, a galaxy, we often think of it as art. We think of it as subjective. But beneath the surface of beauty lies a rigid, unchanging mathematical constant, the golden ratio, phi approximately 1 times thou 618. This number appears everywhere in nature. It defines the spiral of a nautilus shell. It dictates the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower. It governs the proportions of the human face and body. It determines the shape of hurricanes and the arms of spiral galaxies. Tonight, this ratio is not just a math problem. It is a sign that you are built correctly. We often lie awake criticizing ourselves. We worry that we are too much of this or not enough of that. We worry that our lives are misshapen, that our choices are unbalanced, that our existence is somehow wrong. But the golden ratio suggests otherwise. It suggests that there is a deep, underlying order to your physical form and your biological function. You are not a random accident. You are a calculated expression of a universal constant. Your DNA, the very code that built you, is a spiral. Its dimensions, 34 angstroms long by 21 angstroms wide, approximate the golden ratio. You are literally constructed out of the geometry of beauty, the length of your fingers, the position of your eyes, the branching of your veins. They all follow the same mathematical rule that organizes the stars. This means you belong here. You fit the aesthetic of the universe. You are not an intruder in a perfect world. You are a piece of its perfection. The golden ratio is often called divinely proportioned. It is pleasing to the eye because it represents efficiency. In plants, this spiral arrangement allows for maximum exposure to sunlight and rain. It is the most efficient way to pack seeds. It is nature solving the problem of how to grow with the most elegance and the least waste. Apply this to your rest. Sleep is the golden ratio of your day. It is the necessary proportion of rest to activity that allows you to be efficient. You cannot have a day that is all sun and no spiral. You need the turning inward. You need the curling up. Imagine the shape of a sleeping person, curled on your side, knees drawn up, head tucked down. You are forming a spiral. You are physically mimicking the Nautilus shell. You're adopting the geometry of protection, of conservation, of growth. This fetal position is not just comfortable. It is mathematical. It is the most efficient way to retain heat and protect your vital organs. It is the golden spiral made flesh. Tonight, you can trust that your life is unfolding in the correct proportions. Even if it feels messy, even if it feels chaotic, the underlying math is sound. The ratio holds. The spiral continues. You are growing exactly as you should, turning and turning around the center, expanding outward in perfect balance. You don't have to force your life to be beautiful. It already is. It is built on phi. It is built on the same constant that makes the rose bloom and the galaxy spin. You are mathematically designed to be here, to be this shape, to be this person. So let yourself curl up. Let yourself follow the spiral down into sleep. You are entering the center of the shell, the quietest part, the place where the geometry is tightest and safest. You are returning to the origin of the spiral, and there in the center is peace. The math guarantees it. You are beautiful, you are balanced, and you are exactly the right shape for rest. Vectors. In physics, we describe the world using two kinds of quantities, scalars and vectors. A scalar is simple, it just has a size. Temperature is a scalar. Mass is a scalar. But a vector? A vector is demanding. A vector requires two things to exist. It must have a magnitude, how much, and it must have a direction, which way. Think about your waking life. It is almost entirely composed of vectors. You are constantly applying force in a specific direction. You are driving to work. You are walking toward a goal. You are pushing against the deadline. You are lifting up a burden. Your entire day is a series of arrows pointing somewhere, demanding that you exert energy to move along a specific path. We obsess over these vectors. We worry constantly about our direction in life. We ask ourselves, am I moving forward? Am I moving fast enough? Is this the right path? We feel the pressure of the magnitude, the sheer amount of effort required, and the anxiety of the direction, the fear of being lost. But tonight, as you lie here, you are experiencing a profound mathematical transformation. You are becoming a scalar. When you sleep, you are shedding the requirement of direction. You are no longer going anywhere. You are no longer pushing toward anything. You are no longer steering. The bed has no steering wheel. The room has no north or south. The concept of forward dissolves into the concept of here. In vector mathematics, there is a special case called the null vector. It is written as a 0 with a little arrow over it. The null vector has a magnitude of 0, and because its magnitude is 0, its direction is undefined. It doesn't point anywhere. It doesn't need to point anywhere. It is the only vector in the universe that is allowed to have no direction. Tonight, you are the null vector. You might feel a lingering anxiety that you should be doing something or getting somewhere. That is your brain trying to maintain a non-zero magnitude. It is trying to keep the arrow pointing forward, but physics says you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to reduce your magnitude to zero. And when you do, the question, "Where am I going?" becomes mathematically irrelevant. You aren't going, you are being. Think about the forces acting on you right now. During the day, you had velocity, you had momentum, you had acceleration. These are all vectors. They all require energy to maintain. But now, your velocity is zero. Your acceleration, relative to the bed, is zero. Your momentum is zero. The only vector that remains is gravity. And we have already made peace with gravity. It points straight down. It is the only direction that matters tonight. Down is the direction of safety. Down is the direction of the earth. Down is the direction of rest. You don't have to steer toward down. You don't have to navigate to it. You just have to let go, and the universe takes you there automatically. This is the relief of the scalar state. Scalars don't have to worry about being lost. A temperature cannot be lost. A volume cannot be lost. A mass cannot be lost. They just are. When you let go of your velocity, you stop being a thing that moves and start being a thing that exists. You become a quantity of presence, a magnitude of rest. We often confuse stillness with stagnation. Stagnation implies you should be moving but aren't. Stillness implies that movement is no longer the correct variable to measure. You are not stagnant. You are simply measuring a different property of existence. You are measuring depth, not distance. You are measuring restoration, not progress. Imagine all the arrows of the day, the red vectors of stress, the blue vectors of obligation, the green vectors of ambition slowly fading from the air around you. They are dissolving. The coordinate system is relaxing. The x-axes of future and the y-axes of success are fading away. All that is left is the z-axis of sleep. You don't need a compass tonight. A compass is for travelers, and you are not traveling. You have arrived. You are at the destination. The magnitude of your journey is finished for today. If you feel like you are drifting, let that happen. Drifting is movement without a vector. It is movement without a goal. It is the motion of a leaf on a slow river, or a cloud in a still sky. It is movement that requires no force from you. The current of sleep has its own vector. It is flowing gently, inevitably, toward the ocean of unconsciousness. You don't have to swim. You don't have to paddle. You just have to be the object floating in the field. Let the null vector be your identity for the next 8 hours. Magnitude, 0. Direction, undefined. Status, safe. You are not moving backward. You are not moving forward. You are resting at the origin point, and the origin is the place where all vectors begin, the place where all potential is stored. By becoming the null vector tonight, you are gathering the energy to become a new vector tomorrow. But that is for tomorrow. For now, be the zero. Be the point. Be the directionless, motionless, perfect peace of the scalar night. The math allows it. The physics demands it. You are allowed to stop moving. If you are lying here tonight feeling like the world is chaotic or unpredictable or too much to manage, this is for you. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will understand that the stability you are looking for isn't something you have to create. It is something that is already here, built into the very fabric of the reality holding you up. We are often taught to think of mathematics as a source of stress, as a list of problems to be solved, equations to be balanced, or tests to be passed. We think of it as something that requires our constant, exhausting mental effort. But tonight, I want you to look at it differently. Mathematics is not a test. It is a cradle. It is the invisible scaffolding that keeps the universe predictable, reliable, and safe. Right now, as you lie in the dark, there is a calculation happening underneath you. You aren't doing it. You don't have to check the work, but it is happening. The structural integrity of your floor is obeying a precise mathematical formula. The gravity holding you to your mattress is following a constant, unwavering law. The air you are breathing is flowing according to the specific dynamics of fluid mechanics. These numbers are not asking anything of you. They're simply holding you. You don't need to calculate the physics of your bed to know it will support your weight. The math is doing the work so you don't have to. The universe is running the numbers, balancing the forces, and maintaining the equilibrium that allows you to simply exist. Tonight, we are going to look at these hidden equations, not to solve them, but to rest in them, to recognize that you are held by a reality that is mathematically designed to be stable. You are safe. The numbers prove it, and you can rest. Parallel lines. Look at the room around you. The floorboards run side by side. The walls stand opposite each other. The sides of your mattress frame the space you are in. Everywhere you look, you are surrounded by one of the simplest and most profound concepts in geometry: parallel lines. In our emotional lives, we often think of parallel as sad. We talk about people living parallel lives as if they are disconnected, as if the tragedy is that they never meet. We want connection. We want intersection. We want paths to cross. But in the geometry of safety, intersection is dangerous. Intersection is a collision. Intersection is a crash. Tonight, parallel lines are your best friends. They are the definition of structural integrity. Think about the walls of this room. If they were not parallel, if they were converging, the room would be getting smaller. It would be closing in. If they were diverging, the roof would lose its support and collapse. But because they are parallel, they maintain a constant distance. They agree mathematically to stay exactly this far apart forever. They create a reliable, predictable, unchanging volume of space. This is the definition of space. Parallel lines hold the space open. They push back the chaos on either side and create a channel of order in the middle. You are lying between parallel lines right now. The edges of your bed, the walls of your room, even the rails of the train track that led you through your day. These lines are promises. They promise that the world will not encroach upon you. They promise that the ceiling will not meet the floor. They promise that the walls will not meet each other. There is a deep peace in things that never meet. The train tracks never meet, which means the train never derails. The lane markers on the highway never meet, which means the cars never crash. The high-tension wires carrying electricity never meet, which means the power never shorts out. Never meeting is the definition of a system that works. It is the definition of flow. Tonight you can visualize your worries as lines. Usually your worries intersect. They tangle. The worry about work crosses the worry about money, which crosses the worry about health, creating a knot of anxiety in your chest. But in the geometry of sleep, we apply the parallel postulate. Imagine taking those worries and combing them out. Make them parallel. Let the work worry run in its own lane. Let the money worry run in its own lane. Let the health worry run in its own lane. They are still there, perhaps, but now they do not touch. They do not compound. They do not crash into each other to create a catastrophe. They just run, side by side, infinitely, without ever causing a spark. Euclid, the father of geometry, made the parallel postulate his fifth axiom. It was so important, yet so unprovable, that it bothered mathematicians for centuries. They tried to prove that parallel lines never meet, but they couldn't derive it from simpler truths. They just had to accept it. They had to assume it was true to build the rest of geometry. You have to make that same assumption tonight. You have to accept the axiom of parallel safety. You have to trust that the walls will stay parallel. You have to trust that the floor and ceiling will stay parallel. You cannot prove it. Every second you have to close your eyes and let the axiom hold the room up. And it does. The math holds. The room stands. The lines do not meet. There is a concept in physics called laminar flow. It describes a fluid, like air or water, where the layers move in parallel sheets, without mixing, without turbulence. It is the most efficient, quietest way for a fluid to move. When you sleep, you want your breath to be laminar. You want your blood flow to be laminar. You want the air in the room to be laminar, smooth, parallel, quiet. Turbulence is just the intersection of vectors. Turbulence is when lines cross. But tonight, you are smoothing out the turbulence. You are combing the air. You are aligning the vectors. You are creating a state of laminar rest. Feel the parallel nature of your own body. Your arms resting by your sides, your legs extended. You are aligning yourself with the grain of the universe. You are not crossing your signals. You are not fighting the geometry. Let the lines run. Let them stretch out to infinity. They don't need to meet to be purposeful. Their purpose is to define the path. Their purpose is to keep the channel open. Their purpose is to make sure that nothing clashes, nothing collides, and nothing disturbs the perfect equidistant peace of your rest. You are safe between the lines. They will never touch you, and they will never let the world touch you. They are parallel, and that is a promise of eternal space. Exponential decay. There is a frustration we often feel when we lie down to sleep. We expect the stress of the day to vanish the moment our head hits the pillow. We treat relaxation like a light switch. We think, the day is over, so the stress should be gone. And when we still feel the hum of adrenaline, the tightness in our chest, or the echo of a worry, we think we have failed. We think something is wrong with us. But nature rarely works in instant drops. Nature works in curves. Specifically, the fading of stress follows the mathematics of exponential decay. Imagine a graph. On the vertical axis is the amount of stress hormone cortisol, or adrenaline in your system. On the horizontal axis is time. When a stressful event happens, the line spikes up. But when the event ends, the line does not drop straight down to zero. It curves. It descends steeply at first, then gradually flattens out, approaching zero but never quite touching it immediately. This is the half-life of stress. In physics, the half-life is the time it takes for a quantity to reduce to half its initial value. Radioactive atoms decay this way. Medicines leave your bloodstream this way. And the chemicals of anxiety leave your body this way. Let's say you have 100 units of stress. After one half-life, let's say 20 minutes, you don't have 0, you have 50. After another 20 minutes, you don't have 0, you have 25. After another 20 minutes, you have 12.5, then 6.25, then 3.125. Notice the pattern. You are always moving toward peace, but you are never instantly there. Tonight, if you are lying here and you still feel 6.25% of the day's stress, that is not a failure. That is just math. That is just you being at the fourth half-life of the evening. You are exactly where the curve says you should be. You cannot rush the curve. You cannot force the chemistry to metabolize faster than its natural rate. You just have to ride the slope down. This curve is asymptotic. It approaches the axis of total calm infinitely closely. It means that calm is not a destination you arrive at. It is a limit you approach. The feeling of, I'm almost relaxed, but not quite, is actually the feeling of deep relaxation. It is the feeling of being in the tail of the curve. We often fight this tail. We feel the 3% of remaining worry and we panic, which spikes the graph back up to 100%. We reset the clock. Reintroduce new radioactive material into the system just as the old material was fading away. But if you understand exponential decay, you can stop fighting. You can look at that lingering tension and say, that's just the last few atoms decaying. That's just the physics of the fade. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to solve the 3%. You just have to wait one more half-life, and then one more. The math guarantees that the value must decrease. Unless you add more stress, the natural direction of the curve is down. Your liver is breaking down the cortisol. Your parasympathetic nervous system is absorbing the adrenaline. The decay is happening right now, molecule by molecule, without your help. Think of a bell that has been struck. The sound is loud at first, then it gets quieter, then it becomes a hum, then it becomes a faint vibration that you can feel but barely hear. Finally, it becomes silence. You are the bell. The day struck you, you rang, and now you are in the fading hum. You cannot stop the vibration instantly by sheer will. You just have to let the energy dissipate into the air. You just have to let the sound decay. This is a gentle process. It is a forgiving process. It allows you to be imperfectly relaxed. It allows you to carry a little bit of the day into the night, knowing that it is getting smaller every second. The math is on your side. The curve is steep at the beginning, doing the heavy lifting for you. And now, in the shallow end of the curve, the work is easy. You are simply waiting for the numbers to get small enough that they don't matter. And they are getting smaller. Every breath is a half-life. Every exhale sheds half of what remains. 50, 25, 12, 6, 3, drifting down the curve, sliding toward the zero, letting the physics of decay handle the rest. You are fading. The signal is getting weaker. The noise is getting quieter. And the silence is waiting at the end of the line. Algorithms. We often think of the word algorithm as something cold, something robotic, something that belongs to the world of silicon and servers, not to the warm biological world of human sleep. We think of algorithms as the things that control our social media feeds, that trade stocks in microseconds, that track our data. We see them as external forces that manage us. But tonight, I want you to see the algorithm as one of the most benevolent tools in your possession. An algorithm, at its simplest definition, is just a set of instructions for solving a problem. It is a recipe. It is a sequence. It is a way of getting from a starting state to a desired end state without having to invent the path every single time. Your evening routine, the set of small familiar actions you performed before getting into bed, was an algorithm. And it was a brilliant piece of code. Think about what happens when a computer runs a complex program. It requires processing power. It generates heat. The fans spin up. The battery drains. This is cognitive load. During the day, your brain is running high-load software. You're constantly making decisions, solving novel problems, navigating traffic, interpreting social cues. This requires immense energy because you are operating in manual mode. You are writing the code as you go. But when you switch to a routine, you switch to an algorithm. You stop writing code and start running a script. Did you have to think about how to brush your teeth tonight? Did you have to weigh the pros and cons of putting on pajamas? Did you have to hold a meeting to decide which light to turn off first? No, you just did it. You executed a subroutine called prepare for bed. The beauty of an algorithm is that it outsources decision-making to the past. Past you already decided that brushing teeth happens at the sink. Past you already decided where the pajamas live. Present you doesn't have to be a decision-maker. Present you just has to be an executor. And executors consume far less energy than decision-makers. In computer science, we talk about optimization. An optimized algorithm is one that runs with the fewest possible steps and the least possible memory usage. Your evening habits are the result of years of optimization. You have refined this code over thousands of nights. You know exactly the path from the bathroom to the bed. You know exactly the sequence of locking doors. You have debugged this program until it runs smoothly, silently, and efficiently. This efficiency is not just about saving time. It is about saving you. Every time you follow a routine, you are freeing up RAM in your brain. You're taking the active working memory that was holding, "What do I do next?" and clearing it. You are allowing your processor to cool down. You are entering a state of flow where the action happens automatically without the friction of thought. There is a structure in programming called the if-then loop. It is a logic gate that automates behavior. If time is 10 p.m., then check locks. If teeth are brushed, then turn off bathroom light. If in bed, then close eyes. These logic gates are safety mechanisms. They ensure that nothing is forgotten, nothing is left to chance. You don't have to lie there wondering if you did the things that keep you safe. The algorithm handles the safety checks. The code has been run. The system is secure. We often resist routine because we crave novelty. We think routine is boring. But tonight, boring is the goal. In computing, a boring deployment is a successful one. A boring server is one that doesn't crash. You want your sleep to be boring. You want your transition to unconsciousness to be as predictable as a line of well-written code. Imagine your brain right now as a computer that is slowly closing background applications. You are freeing up system resources. You are reducing the thermal load. You are preparing for the low-power state of sleep mode. In this state, you are running a very simple, very ancient script. Let's call it sleep, XE. This script doesn't require user input. It doesn't need you to move the mouse or type on the keyboard. In fact, it works best when you stop touching the peripherals entirely. The algorithm of sleep has a built-in while loop. While energy is greater than 100%, do rest. This loop will run all night. It will monitor your energy levels. It will manage your cycles. It will repair your files. And it will only break the loop when the condition, energy equals 100%, is met in the morning. You don't have to monitor the loop. The syntax is correct. The logic is sound. There is a concept in algorithms called garbage collection. It is an automated process where the computer scans its memory for data that is no longer being used. Temporary files, old variables, fragments of code that are just taking up space, and deletes them. It reclaims that memory for future use. Sleep is your biological garbage collector. Tonight, while the algorithm runs, your brain will be flushing out the metabolic waste products of the day. It will be pruning the neural connections you don't need. It will be organizing the memories you do need. It is a maintenance script that runs best when the system is idle. If you are lying there feeling like your mind is cluttered, like your RAM is full, just remember the garbage collection cycle hasn't started yet. It starts when you enter sleep mode. You don't have to clear the clutter yourself. You just have to run the sleep algorithm, and it will handle the cleanup automatically. Trust the code. You are a biological machine built on eons of iterative development. Your ancestors beta-tested this sleep algorithm for millions of years. They worked out the bugs. They patched the glitches. The version of sleep you are running tonight is the most stable, secure, and effective version that has ever existed. You don't need to reinvent the wheel tonight. You don't need to write new code. You just need to execute the program. Initiate rest. Power down sensory input. Engage sleep mode. The cursor is blinking. The command line is waiting, and the only command left to enter is the surrender to the script. Let the algorithm take over. Let the routine drive. You are the passenger now, safe inside the logic of a process that knows exactly how to bring you to morning. The code is running. The system is stable. You can stop typing. You can stop thinking. You can just let the program run. Harmonic motion. There is a reason we brought babies to sleep. There is a reason you might find yourself swaying slightly when you are standing still and tired. There is a reason the sound of ocean waves, rhythmic, repetitive, predictable, is universally calming. It is because biology is tuned to a specific kind of physics. It is tuned to simple harmonic motion. In physics, simple harmonic motion is a special type of periodic motion where the restoring force is directly proportional to the displacement. That sounds technical, but it is actually the most comforting definition of home in the universe. Think of a pendulum. When it hangs straight down, it is at equilibrium. It is at rest. If you pull it to the side, if you displace it, gravity immediately creates a force pulling it back toward the center. The further you pull it away, the stronger the force pulling it home becomes. This is the restoring force. Tonight, you are the pendulum. During the day, you were displaced. You were pulled away from your center. You were pulled into work, into stress, into conversations, into traffic, into the noise of the world. You swung out to the far edge of the arc. You reached the point of maximum amplitude. And usually, when we are out there at the edge, we feel anxious. We feel like we are going to keep flying off into space. We feel like we will never get back to where we started. But simple harmonic motion guarantees the return. The math creates a promise. The further you go, the stronger the pull to return. You cannot get lost in a system governed by harmonic motion. You can only oscillate. You can only swing out and swing back. And right now, the swing is heading back. You are feeling the tug of the center. You are feeling the restoring force of your own biology pulling you towards sleep. This motion is fundamental to nature. It is how atoms vibrate in a crystal. It is how sound moves through air. It is how the heart pumps. It is how the lungs breathe. Inhale, exhale, exhale. Out. In, exhale. Out. In, away, back. You are built of oscillating systems. You are a collection of pendulums, all swinging, all seeking equilibrium. The beauty of the pendulum is that it is self-correcting. It doesn't need a motor to return to the center. It just needs gravity. It just needs to be let go. If you hold the pendulum at the top of the arc, it takes effort. You have to grip it. You have to fight the restoring force. This is what stress feels like. It is the effort of holding yourself away from rest. But the moment you let go, the physics takes over. The pendulum falls. It swoops down, picking up speed, rushing back toward the safety of the 0 point. It might swing past it for a moment, but it will always eventually settle back to the center. This settling is called damping. In a real-world system, there is friction, air resistance. This friction slowly steals energy from the swing. Each arc is a little lower than the one before. Each swing is a little gentler. The pendulum doesn't stop instantly. It rocks, back and forth, smaller and smaller, until finally it hangs perfectly still. That rocking motion is what your nervous system craves. It is the physical manifestation of damping. When a mother rocks a child, she is mechanically damping their energy. She is imposing a harmonic rhythm that overrides the chaotic rhythm of crying. She is turning the child into a pendulum that is slowly coming to rest. You can do this for yourself. You can feel the harmonic motion of your own breath. It is a slow oscillation, in, swinging out, swinging out, swinging back, in, displacement, out, restoration. You don't have to force the breath to stop. You just have to let the swing get smaller. Let the amplitude decrease. Let the damping of the night take the energy out of the system. There is a concept in physics called resonance. When one vibrating object causes another to vibrate at the same frequency, they are in resonance. They are in tune. The night has a frequency. It is slow. It is low. It is low. It is deep. When you lie here, you are tuning yourself to the resonance of the resting world. You are bringing your internal pendulum into sync with the rotation of the earth, with the cooling of the air, with the quiet of the house. You are moving from a high-frequency state, buzzing, anxious, fast, to a low-frequency state, rocking, slow, deep. And the math says this transition is natural. You don't have to break the machine to stop it. You just have to let the harmonic motion do its work. You just have to trust the restoring force. Think about how much energy you spend trying to center yourself. We use that word metaphorically. I need to get centered. But physically, mechanically, you don't need to do anything to get centered. The pendulum doesn't try to find the center. It just surrenders to the forces acting upon it. And those forces inevitably bring it home. The center is where you hang when you stop trying. The center is where you land when you let go. You are not stuck out in the cold, far away from peace. You are just at the top of the swing. And the gravity of sleep is already pulling you back. It is pulling you down the curve. It is pulling you toward the equilibrium point where all forces balance and all motion ceases. Let yourself swing. If your mind drifts away, that's just a swing. It will come back. If your body turns over, that's just a swing. It will settle. You are in a harmonic system. You are vibrating safely within the limits of your own resilience. And eventually, as the friction of the sheets and the heaviness of your eyes and the quiet of the room do their work, the swinging will stop. The damping will be complete. You will hang motionless in the center of the arc, perfectly balanced, perfectly still, held by the string of gravity in the deep harmonic silence of sleep. You are a pendulum at rest, and there is no physics more peaceful than that. Fluid dynamics. Notice your breath. It is moving in and out of your body in a continuous rhythm. It feels simple. It feels natural. But the physics of this movement is a marvel of fluid dynamics. In the study of fluids, which includes both liquids like water and gases like air, there are two main types of flow. There is turbulent flow, which is chaotic, mixing, swirling, and unpredictable. This is the flow of a whitewater rapid. This is the flow of a storm. This is the flow of your waking life, where thoughts collide, where stress creates eddies of confusion, where everything is churning. But there is another kind of flow. It is called laminar flow. Laminar flow occurs when a fluid moves in smooth, parallel layers, with no disruption between them. It is the flow of honey pouring from a spoon. It is the flow of a deep, slow river. It is the flow of smoke rising in a perfectly still room before it disperses. In laminar flow, the particles of the fluid travel in straight lines. They do not cross paths. They do not mix. They move in perfect unison, creating a stream that is so smooth it almost looks solid. Tonight, your goal is to transition from turbulence to laminar flow. Listen to the sound of your breathing. During the day, when you are rushing, talking, or stressed, your breath is turbulent. The air rushes in quickly, swirling around your throat, creating friction and noise. But as you lie here, settling into stillness, your breath changes. It slows down, the velocity decreases, and in fluid dynamics, when velocity decreases, the flow becomes laminar. There is a number used by physicists to predict this transition. It is called the Reynolds number. It is a ratio of inertial forces, momentum, to viscous forces, friction. When the Reynolds number is high, you get turbulence, chaos. When the Reynolds number is low, you get laminar flow, smoothness. By lying still, by slowing your heart rate, by calming your mind, you are lowering your Reynolds number. You are reducing the momentum of your existence. You are allowing the viscosity, the thickness, the resistance, the slow-moving nature of the night to take over. Imagine the air entering your nostrils right now. It is no longer rushing. It is gliding. It is moving in smooth sheets, layer upon layer, sliding effortlessly down your windpipe and filling your lungs. There is no friction. There is no resistance. It is the most efficient way for a fluid to move. Your blood is doing the same thing. Your heart has slowed its pumping. The pressure has dropped. The blood flowing through your veins is no longer crashing against the walls of your arteries. It is streaming. It is moving in a laminar, quiet river through your body, delivering oxygen to your cells without drama, without noise, without turbulence. We often feel like we have to push through life. We have to force things to happen. But laminar flow proves that the smoothest movement happens when you stop forcing. It happens when you reduce the speed. It happens when you streamline yourself. Think about the shape of a teardrop or an airplane wing. These shapes are aerodynamic. They are designed to encourage laminar flow. They are designed to let the air slip past them without disturbance. Tonight, your body is aerodynamic. Lying flat, you offer the least resistance to the world. You are letting the night slip past you. You are letting the thoughts slip past you. You are creating no wake. Turbulence is exhausting. It requires energy to maintain the chaos. It generates heat and noise, but laminar flow is silent. It is cool. It is the state of least energy expenditure. When you feel a thought trying to churn, trying to create a whirlpool of worry, visualize it as a fluid. Visualize smoothing it out. Turn the swirling water into a sheet of glass. Let the thought flow past you in a straight line, parallel to all the other thoughts, never touching you, never disturbing your peace. You are becoming a vessel of smooth motion. The air in the room is still. The air in your lungs is smooth. The blood in your veins is quiet. You have dropped below the critical threshold. The turbulence is behind you. Now there is only the flow, the gentle, predictable, mathematical slide of air and time. You are floating in a stream that has no rocks, no rapids, no sudden drops, just the long, slow, laminar journey into the ocean of sleep. Tessellation. We often feel like our lives are full of holes. We worry about the gaps in our knowledge, the gaps in our schedules, the gaps in our relationships, the gaps where we feel something is missing. We fear the void. We fear that if we look too closely, we will find that the fabric of our existence is threadbare, full of empty spaces where we might fall through. But looking at the physical world through the lens of geometry reveals a different truth. Nature abhors a vacuum, and geometry abhors a gap. The world is built on the principle of tessellation. Tessellation is the covering of a surface, using one or more geometric shapes, with no overlaps and no gaps. It is tiling. It is the honeycomb of the bees. It is the scales of a fish. It is the arrangement of cells in a leaf. It is the paving of a street. Tonight, I want you to visualize your life not as a series of disconnected events with terrifying voids between them, but as a perfect tessellation, a continuous, unbroken surface where every moment fits perfectly against the next. Think about the shape of a hexagon. Bees use hexagons to build their hives because it is the most efficient shape for packing. If you used circles, there would be gaps between them, wasted space, structural weakness. If you used octagons, they wouldn't fit together. But hexagons, they slot together with absolute precision. One hexagon shares its wall with the next. There is no in-between. There is only the honey and the wax, continuous and solid. Your days are like these hexagons. They tessellate. The moment you woke up this morning touched the moment you got out of bed. That moment touched the moment you brushed your teeth. That moment touched the commute. That moment touched the work. And now the moment of lying in bed touches the moment of sleep. There was never a gap. There was never a hole where you ceased to exist. You moved from one tile of time to another, seamlessly, continuously supported by the geometry of the day. We often worry about what comes next, fearing a chasm. But tessellation promises that what comes next is just another shape that fits. The future is not a cliff, it is a tile. It has edges that match the edges of the present. It has to fit. The laws of causality ensure it. Consider the floor of the room you are in. It might be wood or carpet or tile. Whatever it is a tessellation. The boards fit together. The fibers weave together. The tiles are grouted. If there were a hole in the floor, you would notice, but there isn't. The floor is solid because the geometry works. You can walk across it without fear because the surface is continuous. You can walk across your life with the same confidence. You are supported by a continuous surface of experience. Even the hard moments, the dark tiles, are part of the pattern. They are structural. They hold the light tiles in place. You cannot have a pattern with only one color, and you cannot have a life with only one kind of feeling. But the feelings fit together. The grief fits against the healing. The stress fits against the rest. The waking fits against the sleeping. There is a calming sense of lock in tessellation. When you place the last piece of a puzzle, you feel it snap into place. That click is the sound of geometry being satisfied. It is the sound of a gap being closed. Tonight, sleep is the final tile of the day. It is the piece that completes the pattern. You don't have to force it. You don't have to jam it in. It is shaped exactly to fit the hole that your waking day left. The day created a space of tiredness. A need, and sleep is the hexagon that fills it perfectly. Visualize the timeline of your life as a vast mosaic. From a distance, it might look chaotic, but up close, every piece touches its neighbors. There is no isolation. There is no loneliness in a tessellation, because every shape is held by the shapes around it. You are held by the people you know, the places you've been, the things you've done. You are locked into the surface of the world. And what about the future? The tiles yet to be laid. You don't have to lay them all tonight. You just have to lay this one, the sleep tile. And because the pattern is self-repeating like a fractal, like a crystal, you can trust that the next tile will fit too. Morning will fit against night. Breakfast will fit against morning. The pattern continues. The Penrose tiling is a famous mathematical discovery, a pattern that never repeats, yet never has gaps. It is infinite and non-periodic. Your life is a Penrose tiling. It doesn't repeat. Tomorrow won't be exactly like today, but it will still be solid. It will still be gapless. It will still be gapless. It will still cover the plane of existence completely. So let go of the fear of falling through. You cannot fall through a tessellated surface. The math is too tight. The bonds are too strong. The shapes are too perfect. You are standing on solid ground, surrounded by moments that lock together to hold you up. Close your eyes and see the pattern, the hexagonal rhythm of breathing, the square stability of the room, the triangular strength of the roof. It all fits. It all works. There are no gaps in reality tonight. There is only the smooth, unbroken, comforting surface of the present moment, waiting for you to rest your head upon it. The pattern is complete. The tile is laid. You are safe.